Alright, doing another video. I'm doing these very fast, by the way. This is the second video of the day. My last video, you probably just saw it. Quiet Place 2018 kill count. Yeah. I got a lot of videos that, even then I've seen some of them. We've got these 10 videos right here, baby. Look at all those 10 videos right there. Um, Anyways, CinemaWins has a video on A Quiet Place, which I have not seen in a while. And yeah, I'm a huge CinemaWins fan, by the way, and CinemaSins fan. Although I will say recently, I don't think CinemaSins has put out anything that I've liked in quite a while. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just burnout. But it's better to like things than not like things. Um, and CinemaWins. He rarely does. He only does horror movies during Halloween, especially because yeah, but A Quiet Place, as we all know, such a great film, that, was a sleeper hit, essentially. Not really sleeper hit, but like an unexpected success that, it's now become its own independent franchise. And, of course, the second one just came out. Haven't seen it yet, so don't spoil it in the comments, all right? I gotta stay away from the comments until, like, the movie actually comes out, because I remember nearing the spoilers while doing a video, watching Renegade Media Group react to Last Night in Soho, and they were talking to Quiet Place Part 2. I'm like, all right, no, forget it. I'm just gonna end the video there. It's like, don't they? I feel like sometimes. Here's the thing. I don't get as much accessibility to movie theaters like most people. I don't make much money to keep going to a movie theater. I live very far away from one, to be honest. And like the one that's like I always go to is usually I used to go to was usually 40 minutes away from me, but and I don't have as much money, all right? I can't afford to see every movie, and it's like sometimes I feel like people will tell you what happens and it's like no spoilers, damn it. No spoilers. Bad Renegade Media Group. Go to your room. I'm kidding, I still love them. But yeah. I don't really get why it's like I remembered I had to like mute when they were talking about the movie Us. From what I know, they didn't care much for, but I enjoyed it. But that says a lot about me. I don't really agree with many people, but we're here reacting to CinemaWins. Everything great about A Quiet Place. Great about, not wrong with. Great about, because yeah, and I like how CinemaWins. I actually remembered watching his channel back in 2016. That's how I found out about him because I think I came back from a trip visiting my brother, and then I was scrolling, and then I realized CinemaWins, huh? And then I saw a lot of the videos he's made, and then I instantly became a fan. I've been subscribed to him for over a while now, and if I look here correctly, 1.83 million subscribers. Too short. Damn it. I always get these notifications. I feel like I gotta turn them off, sometimes, but I can't do that. Anyway, let's get onto the video. I'm just gonna grab this here.
There's nothing left on the shelves other than I can't keep whispering. It's not practical.
Yeah.
There's nothing left on the shelves other than candy in plastic bags and chips, because you're not going to be eating those.
Yeah.
Even in an almost completely quiet movie, there's a clear distinction between the normal ambient sounds and what the inside of Reagan's head sounds like. With no exposition other than a simple day count, we know exactly what's going on and what the main issues are in under 2.5 minutes. The oldest daughter is deaf, the middle son is sick, which is why they're at the pharmacy in the first place. Based on how gingerly Evelyn's trying to pick up the pill bottle, making very little sound is important, and we're shown that the youngest boy doesn't really understand that since he's running around. Saving your little brother from horrific
Oh, no.
generosity. Also, just by virtue of the family structure, having a deaf daughter, this family has an advantage over other people since they know sign language and don't need to speak. Believable reason for them to be survivors. And if you didn't realize how important sound was, it's nailed home in the way the entire family treats a battery-operated toy like a live grenade with the pin removed. When no
Yeah,
one is
I love
talking,
that.
you need to have something enjoyable to look at. Very little can be taken for granted. And that's where John Krasinski's direction and Charlotte Bruce Christensen's cinematography both shine. Beautiful overhead shots creating interesting symmetry, inserts revealing their bare feet walking across the sand, and a flat frame pan down that's lit perfectly, and again is framed with a very satisfying symmetry. Also, people say why not wear socks or soft-soled shoes? Socks are slippery on wood floors, which would be a good way to induce premature labor, and honestly, when it comes to being silent, being barefoot gives you more control over how you're
For
stepping because you
construction,
can
my
actually
uncle's
feel the
working on
ground.
something.
Also, I've heard suggestions of tying towels to your soles, so you can trip all over the place. So why wasn't this kid in the front? Why weren't they paying attention to him? Why didn't he know not to do that? First, they've told their son a bunch of times to be quiet. There's no doubt about that. And even if he did understand and learn why, it's only been 3 months. That is not a lot of time to be living like this. Sadly, kids do dumb things because they don't understand
That is
consequences.
true
This
about
scenario of a
kids.
very distinct, loud, and unique
It's sad.
sound probably doesn't come up that much. They have a lot going on, and unfortunately, at this very moment, their focus is on their sick kid because minor illnesses can be life-threatening in apocalypse situations. But hot dang, what a way to open this movie. Stakes are set, no one is safe. And just forewarning, it comes up occasionally, but it's going to come up a lot in this film. People wonder how I can win bad things happening. My policy has always been if the filmmakers get the response out of me they intended, whether it's squeals of glee or shrieks of horror, it's a win either way. One other thing I'll say along the lines of stakes being set, and a lot of you will probably disagree because don't show the shark, but that lets us know right away that the literal threat is not the focus of this movie. You're not going to be sitting around waiting to see what these monsters look like because it's not what matters. I think that John didn't want us to be distracted from what is actually important, the family. Okay, so Krasinski mentioned that there were scenes he had to pull the score out of because the tension of the silence or sound design worked better, which just makes me notice when Marco Beltrami's amazing score is kept in. It's stunning and creates the atmosphere of the film. Even playtime is silent, which actually may be practiced for the escape later. Corn, huh? So I can only assume that Dwight gave you his blessing to switch from beats after he died from trying to argue with the aliens?
I remember reading a meme where someone was saying something about a movie that was coming out, and it was like, nah, no thanks, I ain't watching this. I'd rather watch Dwight's prank on Jim. I remember that joke right now, but sorry.
For anyone wondering why they weren't using this room more, it wasn't done. They were still paper macheing the walls as soundproofing.
Yeah, that is
Now,
true.
that is a beautiful beard win. Ooh, the volume of the lantern breaking, which would usually be pretty innocuous and unoffensive, just explodes in your brain because it's contrasted against the quiet. Jim is so stressed out now. He really needs Dwight as a scapegoat to unleash some of that stress. This is one of those spots that a horror movie would usually pick up an
if you
eerie
hear
track,
sounds, I'm
but
sorry,
Krasinski lets
but
the silence be
now
terrifying.
my aunt is.
Well, if there was ever a time that jump
I have a
scares
big
should be
family,
exploited,
so
it's the
I'm
silent
sorry.
movie. Brutal. I mean, raccoons are kind of jerks anyway. Did you know they steal chickens? So originally I thought this was Chekhov's nail that missed the stringer underneath, but the spacing isn't the same, and on further inspection I think that's just a defect in the board. But I'll use the excuse to talk about this tracking shot around the stairs and give the cinematography some more praise. I realize technically they're still acting, but there's something really sweet about an actual in-love married couple on screen. Whoa, 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 whoa. Does Pam know you're doing the same sharing the earbuds thing with this chick?
Sorry, yeah, I'll say this: Emily Blunt over Pam. I just think Emily Blunt is more she's really beautiful, Emily Blunt.
Though I'm not about to knock a little love dancing to Neil Young. Snappy way of letting us know we won't be jumping around again. In answer to how do they have electricity? Solar panels, my friend. Solar panels. Ha! Her due date was literally Tuesday of this past week.
Hold
Compliments.
on. This is what I was talking about. By the way,
Ha!
I was talking about this while I was doing the dead meat video, and there's the
Her due
shot
date was
here
literally
because state 473, and the due date is see. 14. The due date is 3 weeks technically, and it's like and it's like, yep, you screwed. Yeah, the premature. It was literally all Tuesday of this.
Tuesday of this past week. Compliments. That makes total sense. She's the next oldest person in the family, and Marcus isn't going to be much help if the mom goes into labor. Not to mention, if Lee wasn't always going to be around, Marcus needed to get past this all-consuming fear. Reagan already had. I think the fishing trip was less about learning to pull fish out of a trap and more about teaching Marcus that there are safe spaces and the aliens aren't all-powerful. Well, now, that's a shot. And again, the same piece of...
Yeah, it's interesting. Charlotte Bruce Christensen, they actually define cinematography in this movie, which, given this is shot with anamorphic, and I can tell because of the flare.
Spaces and the aliens aren't all-powerful.
So like, all the day scenes are shot in anamorphic, and you can tell here this anamorphic lens flare right here. And for night scenes and night interiors, they would often shoot spherical. So they would shoot Super 35, which means they would have to shoot. But technically, they used a 4x3 frame and they extracted a 239 frame out of it because the way you can get this 239 anamorphic is generally by shooting 4x3 mode and then you squeeze the image down and you get the anamorphic image. Although technically, to get the proper 239, you have to shoot 6x5 mode. I don't know how it can work like that, but hey, yeah. So actually, have it on one of my books right here, but yeah. So like for day scenes, it's all anamorphic, and for like night scenes, it's all Super 35 millimeter spherical. So yeah.
Well, now, that's a shot. And again, the same piece of music, A Quiet Life, is used as if it too is whispering with light touches on the piano keys. Anyone who's used a framing nailer or even a finish nailer knows that nails can do some weird things when being propelled through wood, especially if they come into
Yeah.
contact with other nails. I have a friend with a messed up iris to prove it. Long story short, this nail being bent and pointing in the wrong direction is totally believable.
Mm-hmm.
A Quiet Life is still my favorite track, but to ignore A Quiet Family played on this detuned piano, almost making you squirm a little when you hear it, oof, all while everyone takes the blame for Bo's death on their own shoulders? Yeah. So the aliens' movements more in view now are terrifying. I remember the doctor telling my wife that screaming actually decreases your power for pushing, so yeah, better off. Nope. Nope. But dang it, do I give her some credit for one muffled yelp. Making Harry look like a bitch. But years of training to not have vocal responses will do that for you. Not much you can do about dropping the frame. No thank you. When the cross between usefulness and an aesthetic and tone...
This is what I was talking about, because generally, I think if I reverse back, if I notice it, where is some anamorphic bokeh here? Let me mute for a second. No, it's not here. Um, like right here. Actually, I don't think that's. Some of this is an interesting thing about lenses, aside from flaring and how it works in light situations, is I'm trying to figure out where it is. Because I do know there's a subtle touch of anamorphic bokeh. I think it's what it's pronounced, bokeh, Bokeh. If I find it here, um, right here, you can see that anamorphic bokeh is like very oval shaped, almost like an egg in certain ways. Like even here in the scene, you can see some anamorphic bokeh here. I think right here you can see some slight hint of the anamorphic bokeh, and then um, and with spherical, it's very circular because it's spherical. It's spherical, so it's like a circle in many ways, and that proves the distinction between anamorphic and spherical for today. So I'm gonna go back to the video and react to it. Sorry about that whole cinematography tangent there.
while dropping the frame. No thank you.
I,
When the
I
cross
I spent the whole last year studying cinematography techniques and traits of like anamorphic and spherical lenses.
between usefulness and an aesthetic and tone change makes sense. Because, like, the red means bad both in and out of the movie.
Yeah.
And I'll give them some more leeway on the jump scare noise, since these things would definitely be alerting their buddies that there's some fresh meat sounds. Thank goodness people used to have special timing devices just for eggs. Right? Who's the genius behind that, and how many people tried to get potato timers and corn timers off the ground? Hashtag shower thoughts. Emily Blunt is...
Always a win.
She's a national treasure.
She is.
That's right, England. I'm claiming her for America.
Yes, claim her. Claim Emily Blunt. We are not worthy. Also, Emily Blunt, she's a really great, talented actress. Yeah, that's right, England. I'm claiming her for America. Yeah, claim her. We're claiming. We claim whatever we want, England.
Anyone who can make me believe she's fighting off contraction pains while trying to stay silent like this is special. Ooh, the red lights from the warning bulbs illuminating his face. A cheat, to be sure, but a welcome one. Finally, Krasinski lets us know that he knows who the real asset is by utilizing his wife. Together with the sound design and cinematography, she sells the absolute panic of this scene. Amazing and awful visualization and audiation? Or oralization of how amplified their
I
hearing
think
is.
oralization.
But obviously the sound is like its own character in this film. So allowing us to hear what the aliens hear or what Reagan isn't hearing transports you into the scene. I'm going to call this a putting faith in your audience win. I know I give wins for setting things up, but I appreciate when they don't waste time spelling it out. Because labor and delivery isn't scary enough. Top of the list, most stressful situations I can imagine. Yeah, appropriate reaction.
Yeah.
Kind of like some crazy catharsis after this nail-biting scene. Again, the sound design slowly building to this crescendo is so impactful. Also, let's just applaud the fireworks failsafe plan. Bravo. Another usage of it wasn't hidden, but you didn't notice it the first time since you were looking at the tub. That's the only cheap-ish jump scare, I'll admit it. But I don't think she actually...
That's the only time I actually jumped, actually. This is the only moment I jumped, but, at least it's cleverly used.
Pounded on the glass. She just put her hand up. And more importantly, it works because you're so focused on John's performance. Bad kid. But let's be honest, he's been one step away from a dumb decision this entire movie. And kids are allowed to do dumb things because they're kids. And it's realistic. No one is going to pretend that having a baby is a smart move, so I give them credit for acknowledging that the baby is going to cry. When your world is so bad, you don't have the luxury of even worrying about SIDS. I won't even bother listing the insane amount of dangerous things happening. Though the oxygen mask would probably help some. Yeah, I think that's why the dad keeps working on the cochlear device. Solution shadowing.
You're safe. They can't hear us.
Actually, a chance to breathe. Even if it's immediately cut short by the fear of where the kids are. Still, a little respite. Don't you know better than to make a sound?
I could have carried it.
Wait, what?
Respite. Don't you know better than to...
John, currently the most serious face in Hollywood, Krasinski. Damn it, Lee. Also, an irony is that John Krasinski's character is named Lee. And the name of the CinemaWins creator is Lee. Irony, I guess.
To make a sound?
I could have carried him. He was so heavy, wasn't he? I can still feel the weight in my arms. Small, but so heavy. And my hands were free.
Well, this whole conversation will rip your guts out, but I think it goes back to this break after hours of terror and near-death experiences. And I really like that they talk about it, because of course they would, even though in movies it's often a point of contention that one of them is unwilling. Hugging. Of course they can swim underwater. But again, putting your biggest asset front and center. See, they didn't even need the waterfall. Followed by corn is also high up in that most terrifying thing I can imagine list. I mean, also this. Saving your big sister. Plot hole number 281. But where did they get all the sand for the pathways from? I mean, I personally live on a huge sand deposit. The 5 houses around me all have sand for like 100 feet down. So it's not crazy to think, it's like people think sand must be made in a lab or something. I'm sorry, I've been on Reddit way too much for this movie. It's just so inconsequential that the film...
Never go on Reddit. Reddit is, I always use a Melisandre quote. Reddit is dark and full of horrors. And spoilers and things I should not really talk about on this. I don't want to get canceled.
Makers didn't need to address it, but they did. There's your sand. They literally open Act 1 after the prologue with Reagan lying in a huge pile of sand. Another one that I feel like I shouldn't have to explain, but when they're on top of the door, it distributes the weight and creates a solid surface as the corn kernels are pushed against one another. Once they're under the door, they're flat on their backs, again distributing the weight out so that no one heavy point is penetrating the corn. People do sadly get sucked down in silos pretty often. Usually
That is
it is
true.
because the corner grain is flowing, but there are often unsettled spots that pull you in as well.
It's like quicksand in many ways.
One more win for the score, really escalating the tension with this music that puts you right on the edge of your seat. Creature design is pretty on point and gross. Man, that dive inside Reagan's mind is just about one of the most terrifying things that happens in this movie.
That is true. Yeah.
Now you're gonna bring a quiet life back like this? Uncool movie. Uncool. Taking his son's advice to heart and making sure that she knew. Doesn't matter what better solution you think you could have come up with. He needed to protect his kids. He felt like he failed the first time, and this time he promised he'd do anything. And that kills me. Self-sacrifice. Also, John Krasinski is always a win. I love how this is one of the rare horror films where they don't close doors, because what's the point? They're gonna bust right
Hold on,
through.
I gotta
And it's
pause
just more
again
sound.
because.
What freak?
Hold on. It'll go over quick, I promise. Alright, I'm back. Yeah, my mom's calling me out. Sorry, I can never cut. Alright, back to the video. Plays.
Those doors, because what's the point? They're gonna bust right through, and it's just more sound. What freaking editors were allowing their writers to call these things angels? There's only one angel in this movie, and it's
It's
the
the Angel of Verdun. Yes. Also, go check out Edge of Tomorrow. It's such an awesome movie, and I still hope we get a sequel because I've heard Doug Liman wants to do a sequel, but I think given the whole situation of the pandemic, I think it's now going to be impossible. Man, we should have gotten it such a long while ago. I hope we still get it at least. At least 2023, 2024. Warner Brothers, if you're listening to this, get yourselves a good script, and or at least bring back Chris McQuarrie to write the script for Edge of Tomorrow for the Edge of Tomorrow sequel.
Verdun. Cute baby. Evidence of love. No translation needed. This is the third time the lights have gone out or flickered when an alien is approaching, and it can't just be for dramatic effect. In fact, their interaction with electromagnetism lends to a further explanation of why the cochlear implant works against them. I'll go in depth in the conclusion. Too bad nails to the feet aren't their weakness. Appropriate shaking. Yeah, even got mucus dripping. But I gotta give the sound designers another win for standing on a Foley stage, crunching celery and twisting cooked crab legs to nail the sound of the aliens. I gotta say, for a completely foreign-looking alien, it's very present in this scene. Finally, it all starts to click for her, even if it's heartbreaking that she couldn't have realized it like an hour earlier. But this is the fourth time it worked, even if she only noticed it once before. Brutal to the alien. Badass good girl. She gave birth like a few hours ago. Yeah. I mean, come on. You can scoff, but deep down you're cheering for them.
I do remember when I first saw the movie, I thought to myself, okay, that was a little strange. But seeing it again recently, I'm like, all right, yeah, that's cool. I don't know. It's just that I think that was a thing where it felt like sequel baiting. I don't know for sure, but I don't know. Back to the video.
Before I get into this conclusion, I want to talk about another great Halloween movie, Cabin in the Woods. Specifically that a channel I love has created a video uncovering the hidden meaning in it. If you don't know already, my buddies at Wisecrack launched a new channel for all their Earthling cinema videos called Aliens Guide, and you should check it out. If you never heard of it, the host Garrick's Wormyloid is an alien from the future looking back on historical artifacts from Earth in the form of movies, TV shows, and pop culture. He dives deep into the philosophy of films, really gets to the heart of what they're trying to say and what influenced them. So check out the new channel, subscribe, and enjoy their content. Links in the description and also at the end cards at the end of the video. So A Quiet Place is kind of like a silly B-movie premise done really well. It's goofy, you can poke holes in the basic setup if you really wanted to. But interestingly, like Chronicle last week, the elevator pitch is just a framework to tell a story. In this case, it's also a fun horror thriller with scares. Deep down, it's a family story. That said, I'm gonna do something I usually try to avoid. I don't like to spend too much time addressing plot holes. It's not really my gig. But I mean, the first 10 results on Google are variations of 78 plot holes in this movie that can't possibly be explained with even just a little bit of thought. Some are dumb, but there are a few that get repeated. And it's so out of hand with this movie, I gotta tackle the big ones. I said you could poke holes in the premise, but I don't believe there are any substantive plot holes in the movie, and I didn't want to bog the main section of the video down explaining each one, though I know I touched a few. Still, skip to the timestamp if you don't care and just want to hear my broader thoughts. But stick with me if you want, because I'm going to explain some things about this movie and movies in general along the way. Lesson number 1. Stay off the Flicks subreddit. Man, that was a mistake. But that's just a lesson for me. Okay, so the first big one is that everyone gives the Abbotts a super duper hard time for getting pregnant, and I totally get why.
I didn't really want to say this when I did the Dead Meat video, but it's curious how a couple can, sort of think about the nature of it all, just like slowly, quietly, and then I'm not gonna finish. I don't want to be.
The easy explanation is contraceptives are probably pretty hard to obtain over a year after civilization collapses, especially years worth. And accidents happen no matter how careful you're being. It's that simple. It probably goes without saying that being pro-life or pro-choice doesn't really matter in this scenario, and I'll leave it at that. Next
I'm
big
more
one is
pro-life.
why didn't they move to the waterfall? So many reasons. Personally, I think this is kind of dumb and obvious, but it's the title of multiple articles, so first, they may have been planning to. We don't know. We see them over the course of 2 days. But it's likely that they didn't always know about it and have created a life and a system on their farm that's safe and works. It's where their electricity is. It's where they grow and store food. It has open spaces so you can see what's coming. Also, can you imagine moving? Moving all your stuff and building a new house isn't exactly a quiet project. Even if you dig underground, in the woods, by a river where there's probably a bunch of ledge, man, it's not even close to a plot hole. But I think the biggest thing is that, while yes, the loud sounds of the rushing water drown out other sounds, it's not foolproof. The closer someone is to the waterfall, the more likely they can decipher different sounds. And it's the people's hearing closest to the loud noise that are going to be most affected, meaning they wouldn't know an alien was there until it was on top of them. Plus, anything that loud would really quickly cause long-lasting effects on your hearing, which is a bad thing in this universe. Plus, have you spent time next to a waterfall? Would you want you and your stuff to be soaked 24/7? And what, should they sleep under the waterfall in tents? Have you thought it through? I could go on. They either have to build or be out in the open. Both bad options where you have a huge farm with multiple buildings with cellars. Good place to make and or deliver a baby, I'll give you that. But again, that may have been their plan. Her labor was kicked into high gear when she stepped on the nail. You usually have some time before you have to push. And also then you gotta walk through the woods with a crying baby, so... And then I talked about where the sand came from, but the second part of the plot hole is who had the time to spread it out all over the place, and this one actually addresses a larger part of the story that's being ignored by some. You get that, their job is survival, right? Jim isn't getting home from a long day flirting with Pam at the office and then going out to spread sand. He could spend 10 hours a day spreading sand and probably have every place they want to go done in a few weeks, months max, depending on how devoted he was. Even now, he's doing maintenance on the paths. But that's it. I see post-apocalypse hierarchy of needs as follows. 1. Survive, which includes food, water, and shelter. 2. Prepare. That's the lights, fireworks, the baby's room, and coffin crib. 3 is improve. That's the chilly warning lights, learning to wash clothes super quietly, spreading sand out over your most traveled areas, etc. Even if they spend exactly 472 days getting everything ready and this is their first break, the timeline is more than believable. And none of this is like a spin or twist of things we aren't shown. It's stuff that's in there if you're looking for it. But Lee, you have to be looking so close to notice these things. Yeah, because it doesn't actually matter. To draw attention to all this stuff would take away from the narrative, which is about family, not sand or solar panels or the ridiculousness of trying to find/build a house near a waterfall. Next is the no coughing, sneezing, burping, or farting issue. I understand why you might get it in your brain that any sound, no matter how small, will alert the aliens. That's just clearly not the case. It may alert them, so it's always about minimizing risk. You never know when one is close, so you take every precaution available. But there's a good chance that they could have spoken at full volume for most of the day and been totally fine. It's more about training yourself to do everyday things silently in case they're near. A fart wouldn't instantly draw the aliens in. I mean, we saw them very loudly break a glass lamp and no aliens came, just jump scare raccoons. It's all about proximity, duration, and a million other unlucky factors. People act like sound is this beacon that always calls them. We know there was at least one in the area when she broke the frame, so he came to check it out. On a normal day, the baby might be able to cry all day in the basement and go totally undetected. Although, side note, I just had a newborn a little while ago, and I know constant crying is always associated with babies, but it's not 24/7. They sleep a lot when they're little, and their cries are tiny little cute noises. Babies are the best. Anyway, it's just so easy to try to poke holes in things while pretending like the characters are these perfect beings who should always be making the best possible decisions because of course you would. It's so easy in movies. It's to the point that I bet you could tell a true story, pretend it's a movie script, and people would find plot holes in real life events. In fact, I guarantee it. So, someone do that. Like, would people believe the Jonestown story if it was a movie? No one could convince almost 1,000 people to drink poison. That's ridiculous. Totally ruins my suspension of disbelief. Heaven's Gate? What an unoriginal name. A comet? Who hired these hack writers? Okay, last two, but they go together. They're huge complaints, and they actually create an interesting paradox that's fun to see angry kids complain about in succession. I will admit that the movie didn't do the best job of explaining, but all it takes is little deductive reasoning. So the first is that cochlear implants don't produce sound, and the second is how come the military didn't figure out high-frequency sound is what disorients the aliens. Exactly. They weren't reacting to sound. Let me explain. The first thing that's a little bit of an aside is that although there are newspapers, I get the feeling this happened really fast. 3 months to empty streets is quick. The government may not have had much time to mount a serious offensive, and sound is everywhere, especially large groups like military bases. But, of course, they tried supersonic
Sorry if you
pulse
hear my
waves,
mom.
right? Maybe, but like I just said, cochlear implants don't produce sound, so it wasn't sound waves that saved the day.
Yeah,
Then,
that's
we
why
know
I'm gonna
that the
put
aliens
the
have an
volume
effect
up
on
here.
electricity, which at the very least suggests that they give off or absorb electromagnetic waves of some kind. In fact, further proving that is knowing that the sound designers used a slowed down taser to create the aliens' auditory sounds. And something you might miss is that when
It's almost like, it sounds a lot like the Predator noise, where it's like, no, I can't do the Predator click. Can't do it. Can't do it.
they're near her implant, she actually hears for a brief time after, meaning they're affecting it, probably by increasing the electrical output that creates that feedback loop. Other than the aliens, Reagan is the only one that hears this sound, and when it's projected over the PA, no one hears it. So although it's represented to us as a high-pitched whine, because you gotta have something so we know what's going on, it's not actually sound at all. It's some kind of electromagnetic reverb. Cochlear implants output electrical signals in the same way that the cochlea does in a properly functioning ear. Sorry if I'm butchering this explanation, people who know so much more than me. But the point is, the aliens were reacting to whatever interaction they have with the electromagnetic field and the electric signal produced by the modified device. Probably not the first thing anyone would try when all you know is that the aliens are attracted to sound. These aren't high-frequency sound waves, they're electrical signals. They tried to make it clear by showing the bulbs flicker, but expectedly a lot of people missed it. I know people have complaints about the various rules, but for creating atmosphere and giving you an idea about the laws of the universe, they keep a pretty solid continuity. Like I said earlier, the general rule is minimize risk. Some sounds can't be avoided, but anything that can be, silent Monopoly pieces, loading your shotgun under a blanket, plates made of leaves, using sign language, a washcloth to catch water droplets as you wash your magnificent beard and chiseled face. These are the things you can control. And from a narrative standpoint, they're the things that accentuate the fear in the film. But speaking of beards, it's interesting that for as much as we learn about these characters, we don't actually learn their names in the movie. But let me be the first to say, well done on making the ruggishly good-looking, bearded man's man named Lee. Just some solid character creation right there. I'm clearly not at all insecure about my name. So beyond all that jazz, the aliens were awesome. Setting most of the alien interactions at night made the CGI pretty much spotless. The locations and photography of those locations are stellar. Even if you hate the movie, I think it's hard to deny its beauty. And then there's what makes the movie really work, the performances. Obviously, I've given both Emily Blunt and John Krasinski a ton of praise, but Noah Jupe plays his age and really conveys the terror a young kid would be going through perfectly. The standout as one half of the emotional center of this movie, Millicent Simmons, is amazing. John said from the beginning that he wanted a deaf actress, and he really struck gold with Millicent. Their moments at the end really get to me, but their relationship is palpable throughout. And as much as this is a scary movie about aliens, that's not really the fear that I was left with. Krasinski opens the movie capitalizing on that fear by having their youngest taken right in front of them. That's the fear that stuck with me. Losing a child, not feeling like you can protect them. And we don't even need sound aliens to be afraid of. Sometimes I want to lock Jude in a soundproof room and shelter him from the world anyway. Even worse, the fear of your children not knowing how much you love them. I'm not trying to alienate non-parents, but I personally didn't truly understand how my parents felt about me until I had Jude. There's no lengths to which a parent wouldn't go. There's nothing I wouldn't give for Jude. John Krasinski captured that feeling on the page, behind the camera, and in front of it like very few I've ever seen. And honestly, without having a daughter yet, maybe, I probably can't even truly understand the father-daughter relationship the same way. But I see it on his face. Maybe he didn't need to die, but he didn't take a second thought about it, and that means something. It wasn't a cheap ploy to get you to cry, it was an expression of how people feel about their family.
Hold on
And as much
a
as
second, I forgot to put the HD. I hate the automatic settings on everything nowadays. Keep it on 1080 for Christ's sake.
Stings, I'm not left sad because I see that love and hope to live up to it for my own children. Sorry to get all deep and melancholy on you. This movie is just so much more than a horror flick to me. Sometimes I apologize for not being cynical enough, but not this time. Thank you, John and Emily, for sharing something that is so clearly deeply personal to you. I may not remember what the aliens looked like in 10 years, but I think that I will always be able to picture this moment.
Quiet. All right, yeah. So, I would say Lee touched in CinemaWins, touched on a lot of interesting details on like plot holes and all that. And I don't really want to get into plot holes because it's just kind of stupid. But yeah, I'm actually gonna read the comments because I think it's just better. Not gonna lie. Yeah, the solar panel comment was a direct answer to CinemaSins. I do remember CinemaSins did the video and I didn't really care much about it. Um, or YMS. I mean, I like most videos so nitpicky about shit without thinking about it at all. That is true about the internet overall and life. Sort of lost faith in everybody. It's kind of like critics have become so negative nowadays. Uh, Me, angry British noises. Hey, we claim her however we want. And besides, I like Emily Blunt a lot. You know, she's a very beautiful woman. I'm not over her. Unbelievable. I never. Say fair play. Oh, here's what it says. Well, an American got her. A fellow Bostonian can make it even better. Well, I mean, to be fair, um, yeah, I find it funny when I found out that Emily Blunt was married to John Krasinski. I was like, wow. Yeah. Um, Emily Blunt is a national treasure. Drinks tea. I'll reply from CinemaWins on this comment too. Yeah, I'm having fun just reading the comments on this. It's just, hey, dual treasure ship allowance for that comment. Yeah, it's like, mm, yeah, um, yeah, but really to touch on, he really did touch on someone's, the whole plot holes and the rules the movie sets up. It just kind of proves. I feel like every time there's a perfectly good thing, everyone will come in and try to ruin it any chance they get, just because their life is shit. Which I get that you're angry by. Why lash out over a movie? It's like, that's why I think cinema sins, in my opinion. Even though I'm subscribed to cinema sins. I remember they used to actually be funny, and then over the years, I think they've taken the channel a little too seriously. And even though I know they don't take it seriously, but I feel like the channel has gotten so serious. And I mean, the fact that it has more than CinemaWins is feel like it's just the dislikes are Cinema Sins fans. Like, this is a ripoff channel. I remember people getting angry about the fact that there was a Cinema Sins, which, in fact, it's just an affectionate parody, for Christ's sake. The same way that Galaxy. Okay, here's the thing. CinemaWins is essentially supposed to be a parody, an affectionate parody of Cinema Sins, while also doing its own thing. Because unlike Cinema Sins, CinemaWins actually states the wins throughout the movie, and then he offers a perspective right after. That's why there's like a long 11-minute window discussing the plot holes. That's what makes Cinema Wins unique. That's what makes him different from Cinema Sins. Cinema Sins, it just sends the movie, sin count, sentence, then the outtakes, which I will say over the years, the content has just been really crazy. Yeah, but, essentially, this channel was inspired. Cinema Sins technically inspired some random man on YouTube, Lee, to make Cinema Wins. And it's become successful. And yeah, it's sad that like he doesn't have more subscribers. I feel like it's just strange because also the whole comment on YMS and Red Letter Media, which it's again I respect the people. It's just in my opinion, it's so negative. I think that's why I'm so pessimistic towards other people is because there is so much negativity on the internet that it is really goddamn baffling to me. It is like blasphemous in many ways, and I'm blasphemous from time to time. But I just uttered blasphemy already. But yeah, and in fact, actually, you know what? I've also realized something now about A Quiet Place. Platinum Dunes. See, Platinum Dunes. Here it is. American production company created in November 2001 by producers Michael Bay, Brad Fuller, and Andrew Form. Which I'm gonna just, they're often really against Platinum Dunes movies, and I understand why. But I'll list some of the better ones. Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake, pretty good. Amityville Horror remake, pretty good. Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Beginning, The Hitcher, have not seen it. Unborn, horrible. Friday the 13th remake, actually pretty good. Horseman, I don't remember that one. A Nightmare on Elm Street remake, horrible. Purge, meh. Purge Anarchy, pretty good. TMNT 2014, meh. Ouija 2014 movie. Project Almanac, don't know really for sure how I feel about it. TMNT Out of the Shadows, actually pretty damn good in my opinion. Purge Election Year, also pretty damn good. Ouija Origin of Evil, pretty damn good. Quiet Place, awesome. The First Purge, eh. Oh, this is awful. Look, Songbird, horrible. Quiet Place Part 2, from what I hear, actually pretty good. The Forever Purge, please be good. So, yeah. It's kind of hit and miss with Platinum Dunes, because this, I think, yeah, like, they had a really good winning streak with TMNT Out of the Shadows, then The Purge Election Year, then Ouija Origin of Evil, then A Quiet Place. And from what I think Quiet Place Part 2 is kind of getting them back on track. But yeah, but I am hoping that Forever Purge is actually good because I did not really care much for the prequel movie of the Purge. But yeah, actually, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, right here in 2018, Fuller and Form made an amicable split from Platinum Dunes to launch a new production company, Fully Formed Entertainment. Untitled Fast Car Project. So essentially, they left. Yeah. So it's amicably split. And so I think, in fact, if I look up the producers of Songbird, because I also think, actually, the interesting thing about Songbird is it was a horrible movie, but also, I've heard it's so bad it's good. I don't know, but I do know that that Bay actually was the second unit director on this movie. Weirdly enough. Uh, so I'm looking at it here. Yeah, so Form and Fuller were not directly involved. But I think they are directly involved on part two of Quiet Place, and maybe Forever Purge. Not so sure. Yeah, they are still involved on Forever Purge. So I think it's mostly Bay who runs Platinum Dunes, and like I mentioned about Michael Bay and John Krasinski. Um, if I click here, Michael Bay. Yeah, Transformer 13 Hours, which was essentially by many people. Um, this is his most mature film. This is the one that I think managed to sort of make me forgive him for Pearl Harbor. Yeah, directed by Michael Bay and John Krasinski. Essentially, Bay and Krasinski work well together. That um, it led to both Quiet Place movies being very successful, and I'm glad. Also, Bay Films, which is a separate thing, I know, because um, yeah, yeah, the one horse-faced director himself, the horse-faced director known as Michael Benjamin Bay. That, by the way, yeah, I know that his middle name is Benjamin. Weirdly enough, born in Los Angeles, California. Um, by the way, you can hear my mom in the background. Once again, I can't really stop it, and every time I try to, I fail very horribly. Yeah, producer. Yeah, like for example, Tom Clancy's Jack Ryan. Bay is an executive producer on the series, which is funny. Yeah, Michael Bay and John Krasinski apparently work well together. Like 13 Hours, both A Quiet Place Part One and Two. Tom Clancy's Jack Ryan. It's like Bay and Krasinski are like, ooh, I never knew I needed. Although I can tell with A Quiet Place. I feel like Krasinski. I feel like Bay told John, make the movie you want to make, and I think he was barely on set that day. It was mostly Andrew Foreman, Brad Fuller, who I think have more influence because they're always on set that day while Bay's off doing other things. Um, see here. I do know Bay also has a separate production company just titled Bay Films, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Bay Films. Uh, I can't have family members here because, yeah. Let me see. 7 titles. 6 Underground, 13 Hours, Bumblebee, I Am Number 4, Ambulance. Okay. So they've only done 4. So, yeah. Alright, well, I'm gonna go check how long I am in the video. Look, encoding overloaded. 47 minutes. Oh, Jesus. Had to miss out on catching up on my Sopranos episodes for this, but anyways, I'm gonna leave a like on the video. Uh, this was everything great about A Quiet Place from CinemaWins. I'll leave a link down to the original video down below. I'll also leave a link to CinemaWins because he deserves more love, and I hope he does manage to reach 2 million subscribers, and I hope he manages to reach 3, and then 4, then 5, then, as Tyrone states, 10 million subscribers. And also link to my Instagram. And as always, thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I guess until next time, I wish you all Godspeed. Shh.